Good morning, all. Welcome to today's operator meeting. My name is Sienna, and I will be your host today. As always, all questions will be answered at the end of the presentation, but feel free to put the questions in the chat as they come to you. First up, we have Alex. Alex, go ahead and take it away.
Hello. Hi, everyone. I'm Alex Axe, the scientific technical. I'm actually not the technical documents specialist anymore. I'm the scientific technical writer. Um, and my pronouns are they, them. I'm just here to give you a extremely quick update. Next slide, please, on what guidance documentation has been updated since the last time you guys got an update. So you can see on the list, which all of those should be live links, what guidance documents are new and what ones that were current have been updated. So just let me know if you have any problems accessing them or any questions regarding the documents themselves, and I'll get back to you quickly. So that's all I have.
Thank you so much. Next up, we have Diane. Diane, go ahead and take it away.
Hey, thanks. Good morning. My name is Diane McCoy. I just have a quick reminder about the proper use of Form 42s. Operators are required to submit various Form 42 field operations notice in accordance with Rule 405 and COAs that get applied to permits or other forms approving work. There are specific notice types based on what the operations will be occurring. The use of the Form 42 other should be rarely ever used, as the actual specific notice type should be selected. That ensures that the notice is delivered to the correct parties and that we know what type of work is occurring in the field. And then in addition to that, when using the move-in rig-up notice, operators must use the text box to describe the planned operations, the duration, and the purpose of the operations. So we're really just wanting to make sure we're using those Form 42 notice types to really document what is occurring in the field, and so people know what to expect and what is going out there. And that's all I had. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Diane. Next up, we have Stephen. Stephen, go ahead and take it away.
Thank you, Sienna, and good morning, everyone. Stephen Shore is a regulatory affairs specialist with the Cumulative Impacts and Energy Transition Unit here at ECMC. I am here with an update on the development for the forms 2A, 2B, and 2D. Next slide, please. So, all three of these forms are now released and available for use. I'm going to walk through each of these really quickly. The Form 2A was released on January 30th. This is in web forms, and this received some minor updates and new data fields and reorganization that came out of the Cumulative Impacts and Enhanced Systems and Practices rulemaking at the end of last year. I will be the staff contact for technical issues related to this form, particularly the new data fields. And when we say technical issues here, we're talking specifically about, hey, I entered data in this data field and it didn't save, or I got this error message and I shouldn't be. These are the sort of technical form-related questions that we're looking for these staff contacts on this slide. The Form 2B was released January 16th. This is also in web forms. This was significantly updated with new data fields and reorganization due to the Cumulative Impacts and Enhanced Systems of Practices rulemaking. And the staff contact for technical issues for this one will be my colleague in the Cumulative Impacts Enhanced and Energy Transition Unit, Mike Wells. And finally, the Form 2D was also released on January 30th. This is a brand new form. This was released in e-forms. So those first two are in web forms. This 2D is in the new e-forms. And again, I will be the staff contact for any technical issues with that form. So now that these have been released, I'm going to quickly walk through some of the changes and updates to the 2A and 2B, as well as what you can expect to see on the 2D. So next slide, please. All right, so like I said, for the Form 2A, there are sort of a light touch and sort of changes here coming out of the rulemaking. First and foremost, on the Location ID and Local Government tab, The pre-application meeting section was updated to include new fields for the pre-application directory meeting, as well as pre-application community meeting. Additionally, the relevant location government data was moved from the alternative location analysis tab to better be housed on the location ID and local government tab, where the rest of that local government information is housed already. Next, the CDPHE consult tab was removed entirely due to the maturing of the process and working with our excellent colleague Tessa Sorensen over at CDPHE. The consultation process no longer necessitates having this standalone tab on the 2A and will be continued to be held the way that's been currently implemented. The operator BMPs tab. This was slightly renamed to be BMPs and ESPs. ESP standing for Enhanced Systems and Practices. Additional fields have been added for questions related to ozone 9 attainment area, as well as new fields related to the new Enhanced Systems and Practices. On the Plans tab and the Variants and Exceptions tab, the Cumulative Impacts Plan upload and selection option was removed. As part of the new rules, this plan is not in the rules anymore, and it was wholesale replaced by the new cumulative impacts analysis. And this is an attachment, so this would be on the attachments tab, not in the plans section. And then finally, on the attachments tab, there are new attachment names in the drop-down list, reflecting some of the new meeting summary documents that are required, as well as cumulative impacts analysis. Next slide, please. All right, going into the Form 2B, this is where a lot of the real changes came out with new Rule 315A. So on the Contact and Plan Information tab, we've added a new option to submit an amended Form 2B. Before we get a flood of amended Form 2Bs, we will be releasing guidance in the future on when it is appropriate to submit an amended Form 2B. So please hold off on submitting those until that guidance has been released. On the Oil and Gas Location Data tab, this is where the bulk of the changes occurred. We've added new data fields for collecting well information about completions and the use or not thereof regarding PFAS. New fields for describing the area of evaluation being used for a given location. New and revised fields regarding recycled water based on learnings and feedback we've received from Form 2Bs over the last few years and through doing the Cumulative Impacts Annual Report. Revised fields on the HPH disturbance acreage section, as well as the HPHs themselves, the high priority habitats, are now drop-down options. So no more issues trying to, fat finger or get the correct name in there. They're all drop-downs, and this should streamline filling out this section. Additionally, there's a new section, fields for biological resources and swap habitats. Swap habitats, I spoke to those map layers in a previous presentation. And just like the high priority habitats, the swap habitats are also drop-downs, which should make it easier and reduce errors in filling out the forms. Revised fields on the NRCS data section to allow for additional rows for putting in more soil types. Previously, there was a limited number of rows and operators had to put in additional data into the Submit tab. Hopefully with these additional rows, we can avoid that and get the data collected in the form section itself. Additionally, due to new rules, we've added new PM 2.5 and PM 10 fields in the air resources section, PM standing for particulate matter. And these last two are sort of bulk changes throughout this section. There are multiple data fields within the oil and gas location data tab that request operators to put in a numerical total for information they've added in. These have now been updated to auto-populate and calculate that total, and this should avoid any miscalculations when entering the data yourselves. And finally, Also throughout the form, previous instructions in the text of the form for multiple areas that were requesting information related to things, quote, within a mile of the oil and gas location. Due to the new rulemaking, these have now been revised to read within the area of evaluation of the location. Moving on, the Oil and Gas Development Plan Scale Data tab. This has been removed. The data that was previously collected on this tab has been merged into various sections of the Oil and Gas Location Data tab. And this was done as the new rules focus a lot more on the locations and the impacts related there, and less thinking about OGDPs. This data will still be collected and will still be implemented in the annual report for consistency there, though. Next slide, please. Beneficial impacts tab. So frequently, we've had COAs at commission hearings for OGDPs requesting a list of the specific wells that will be plugged and abandoned or locations that will be undergoing fauna reclamation related to OGDPs. We have now added new fields that you can add the well API numbers and the location IDs, and in the case of pits, facility IDs for the specific wells, locations, and pits that will be closed, reclaimed, plugged, and abandoned, respectively, related to the operations of this proposed OGDP. Additionally, a new focus of these new rules was not focusing solely on the adverse impacts of the operations, but also the beneficial impacts. So while previously there had been questions relating to narratives of the adverse impacts, they now all have corresponding beneficial impact questions on narrative data text fields in the beneficial impact discussion section of the beneficial impacts tab. We have a new tab for NOx intensity and greenhouse gas intensity. These are new data fields related to an operator's NOx and greenhouse gas intensity. The mitigation measures tab, this was removed. This data now, due to the larger amount of information in terms of wells, locations, and facilities, as well as the additional narrative text boxes on the beneficial impacts tab, this mitigation measures tab was removed, as that data is now better captured in the beneficial impacts tab. And then finally, on the attachments tab, there's a new attachment dropdown option. Before there was only other, now an additional one has been added for plain language summary, which is an additional new requirement coming out of the new cumulative impacts and enhanced systems and practices rules for every Form 2B. Next slide, please. All right, moving on to the new Form 2D, the emissions intensity assessment. And there's a little asterisk there to remind me that this is required submission annually by February 15th for all operators in the ozone non-attainment area. Now, it's keywords, they're all operators. This is if you're planning to do pre-production and or currently just doing production operations. Walking through the sections of this form, as a reminder, this is in e-forms, not web forms. On the contact and operator information tab, this is intended to be submitted by the parent company on behalf of all subsidiaries or affiliates, similar to how the interim NOx intensity report was submitted to APCD by the parent company. We have received feedback already from folks, and we are taking these learnings, especially with this parent subsidiary affiliate relationship. And while we're going to stick with the form as designed for this first year, we're going to take a lot of these learnings and implement them over the summer so that next year's form better reflects the parent affiliate subsidiary relationships. The next tab on this form is the NOx intensity tab. Here you'll find fields to describe an operator's NOx intensity status and previous outreach to myself and manager of the Cumulative Impacts and Energy Transition Unit, Sabrina Trask, identified that the data field was only allowing 2 decimal places. This should now be corrected, and as of this morning, be allowing the full 3 decimal places for the NOx intensity number. There are fields to indicate requests to conduct pre-production operations the upcoming ozone season, as well as fields to describe the 20% over-compliance status, it was described in rules, as well as fields describing an operator's ability to comply with their NOx intensity targets going forward, including the use of enhanced systems and practices. Moving on to the pre-production operations tab, these fields indicate specific locations or wells that an operator is planning for pre-production activities in the upcoming ozone season. Now, I want to be very clear here. For operators that are greater than or equal to 20% below the NOx intensity target, this tab is not required. APCD has issued the interim reports. It's available on the website, as well as detailing which operators are and are not greater than or equal to 20% below their NOx intensity targets. For operators that are less than 20% below, or only meeting or exceeding the NOx intensity targets, this pre-production operations tab will be required. Now we understand that in rules it says director may require. For this first year, we are requiring it for all those operators that meet that second bullet right there. And we do intend for this guidance to be revised in subsequent years once the annual reports are available and we can start to fully implement the comparison of the annual report versus interim reports going forward. However, this is the guidance for how we'd like to have this filled out for this first year. Next slide, please. Moving on to the Enhanced Systems and Practices tab. These fields are to indicate the enhanced systems and practices that are planned for use in this upcoming ozone season. The instruction for filling this out, since these are all referencing Rule 316C4 ESPs, and these don't go into effect until January 1st, 2026, we are anticipating that these will be no for all Form 2Ds submitted this very first year. Now, that being said, we understand that some operators might be planning to be compliant early and implement some of these earlier. So what we are asking then is if you are one of those operators that are looking to implement some of these Rule 316C4 ESPs early, please reach out to myself and Sabrina Trask for further guidance on how we'd like to fill these out. However, that being said, as it is listed in the rules, these don't go into effect until January 1st, 2026, and we are anticipating the answer would be no for all of these for this first 2D submittal year. Finally, there's a Submit tab with the Submit tab comment box to add any additional information in there, as well as an Attachments tab. Many times the Submit tab comment box is too small, and we are encouraging operators that want to provide additional information to use not only the Submit tab, but also the opportunity to submit a document on the Attachments tab to provide more information. And finally, as a reminder again, required submission of the Form 2D is by February 15th for all operators in the ozone non-attainment area. This is a submittal deadline, not a final approval deadline. We understand with this first year, there'll be a lot of further guidance and different issues to work out, and there might be returning to draft and further discussions after that date. Just to keep in mind that it's a submittal date by February 15th. Next slide, please. Alrighty, so again, status on upcoming operator guidance. For the Form 2A, the community outreach plan guidance was updated to meet the new rules and has been available since December 13th. The cumulative impacts analysis, including information and guidance on how to describe and discuss the area of evaluation, is forthcoming. For the Form 2B, on January 15th, The Form 2B multiple occupations emissions accounting guidance was released, and that was on the websites. One of the things my colleague Alex Axe spoke about in the beginning of this meeting. And additionally, we are still going to be working on getting the Form 2B checklist done to meet the new data fields of the updated Form 2B. And finally, we will be working on a Form 2D checklist, though our focus has been on getting these forms tested, as many of the bugs ironed out as we could, and released, especially in the case of the Form 2B, dealing with the questions related to that in advance of the February 15th deadline. So a lot of this guidance will be coming out later on. And again, if specifically for the Form 2D, if there are any questions folks have regarding guidance there, please email myself and Sabrina Trask. And if there are technical issues for the Form 2D, please email me directly. And I believe that's it for slides. Thank you very much. We'll answer questions at the end.
Thank you so much, Stephen. Next up, we have Rebecca. Rebecca, go ahead and take it away. Rebecca, you should have permissions.
Sienna, this is what we were going to not do today.
Got it.
Thanks.
All right, next up, Chris, take it away.
Sure. So did Terry give her presentation, or did I just miss that?
Thank you for that.
Sure.
My apologies. Terry, go ahead.
Good morning. My name is Terry Eichenoy. I'm a compliance specialist in the new QA/QC unit, and I have some information for you on a new form, an e-form. It's the general liability insurance. Next slide, please. So there's two ways to submit. You can still submit your certificate of liability insurance with the annual Form 1B. And the difference is once you submit the Form 1B, no changes can be made to it. So then you would need to use the Form 1D to submit the insurance. Or you can just use the Form 1D and not submit it on the Form 1B. Next slide, please. And just a quick reminder on what the requirements are. There's the rule up on top. The ECMC needs to be specifically listed as the certificate holder. And the amount of required insurance is $5 million. And the policy type can be general, excess, umbrella, or any combination thereof. Next slide, please. So in eForms, you can use the drop-down once you log in and select the Form 1D. Next slide, please. There's only 3 sections. It's pretty simple. The operator information auto-populates from your login. Your contact information, you have to enter that. And then you add the new record and upload your insurance, much like on the Form 1B. And then you sign and certify. Next slide, please. The guidance document should be available online that I've prepared, and the Form 1D is live right now. And if you have any questions or need assistance with the form, just shoot an email to me and I'll help you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Terry. All right, Chris, go ahead and take it away.
Thank you, Sienna. So my name is Chris Eisinger. For those who don't know me, I'm the Information Applied Technology Manager here. And I just wanted to give a very brief update as to electronic form development. Sienna, can I share my screen? I have a slide I would like to show.
All right, you should be able to share.
Okay, let me give it a go. All right, this should work. Excellent. Okay, hopefully everybody can see this screen.
Sure can.
Slideshow. So just very quickly, I wanted to just go over what we've recently completed in the last month or so. Several of these forms were referenced in this meeting this morning. As far as the new forms, we released a emissions intensity assessment on the new eForms platform, and that's part of related to cumulative impacts. Back in late November, early December, we released a Form 1D, which Terry just talked about for providing general liability insurance information. There have been updates to quite a number of forms. The big ones have been the Form 2B and 2A, and then also some changes to the Form 4 sundry notice. And then finally, we've been continuing to do fixes and tweaks on the Form 7 for reporting production, produced water, and geothermal activity. As far as what we're currently working on, and this will be development ongoing in February, March, and into April, we have the Form 2F, which is related to cumulative impacts information. We're going to be working on a Form 3D, which is related to financial assurance. And then we're going to be making updates to the Form 2C, 1B, 1A, and then some modest change to the Form 5 and 5A, and then some more tweaks to the Form 7. What I really wanted to highlight here today was we've had questions about the marginal well fee. This was a fee that was introduced through a House bill last year, 24229. And it is a fee that will be paid on all wells by operators by April 30th of each calendar year. So for the April 30th fee, you would be paying for wells operated as of December 31st, 2024. We do not yet have this fee, the ability to pay this fee in the form yet. This will become part of the Form 1B, which is the annual registration. We are hoping this fee will be available to provide payment for in mid-March. And so if you have questions about that, you can reach out to Terry Econoy, but we will keep everyone posted and provide updates as soon as that's available. So that's all I had, Sienna. Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, looks like we have a few questions in the chat. The first one is for you, Diane. Can you please let me know how much detail you would need to see on the MIRU operations text? For example, I submit MIRU for coil and tube up operations. Will coil suffice for the level of detail you need to see?
Yeah, thanks for the question. We're looking for a little bit more detail in the text box than just that. I know in the past we've had some people just type in coil ops or something like that, but we're looking for the planned operations, duration of the operations, and purpose of the operations. So to build off your question there, I would say post-stimulation coil tubing clean out for 2 days or whatever it is, but give a little bit more color around what the purpose of the operations are and what's going to be out there.
All right, thank you for that, Diane. Next question is for Stephen. If an operator is presumed to not be required to submit a 2D, is there any confirmation process or just ask you or Sabrina?
Hi, yes. So at this time, we don't have any sort of form eligibility confirmation process. For the first time using the Form 2D, we are um, uh, relying mostly on APCD's website to understand which operators submitted NOx interim reports. But if you would like to get further confirmation, I would recommend asking myself and Sabrina if you need to submit the 2D or not. That would be the quickest and clearest way.
Thank you so much, Stephen. Next question, I believe, is for Chris. If there are no changes or renewals to our general liability insurance during the previous 12 months, are we still required to submit the Form 1D?
I actually will defer that to Terry if she's available.
I am available. The answer is yes, because those insurance policies expire annually, so I would need an updated policy.
All right. Thank you so much, Terry. If those are all the questions, I appreciate you all for attending today's operator meeting. The meeting will be posted by the end of this week. Thank you all so much and have a fantastic day.